I was under the impression that this graphic novel was already released. I have been wrong before, I guess. I figured, because it was advertised at first when I initially covered it alongside the Dune movie, which makes sense because this is the graphic novel form of that story, I would think it'd be an adjacent release to the movie. But, some works, I guess, maybe take time. The publication process as well takes time, illustrating, writing, and all that. Might be a complicated process. I would just think in terms of adjacent releases, you would put this graphic novel out alongside. Either way, Dune was a very good movie. I've said that before. I've given the Dune spiel many times. This was my first film back into theaters, after the COVID breaks, and I absolutely enjoyed the movie. It was a cinematic experience in itself. I will never forget the sound quality to that movie as well, with the score, which is bedazzling. But as a franchise launcher, I really do think that film posed quite a competent rapport. It was such a beautiful piece of art. And every vestige of the project, every shot was just stunning to look at, and the cast was engaging, the script was very well done, and I can't speak to this, being a Dune expert. That was my first introduction. I've never read the novels that the property's based on, but as a franchise launcher, which it seems to be evolving into, I've spoken before, there's that HBO Max show in the works, at least it was talked about. There's the sequel that's been greenlit and highlighted, and the cast, in fact, has expanded with some other big names, including Austin Butler and Florence Pugh. They're going to both be joining, and Florence Pugh I'm really excited for. But even then, you've got the video game universe expanding with Dune Awakening and Dune Spice Wars, which has already been released. Dune Awakening's, I believe, in the advertising stage as we speak. At least I covered it recently. It makes sense, again, when you're building a franchise to expand to as many forms as possible. And this does mimic, I would say, other sci-fi franchises. Let's say, for example, especially in the space scene, Star Wars. Star Wars has had the same expansion under, they had it with Lucas as well, when it was under his stewardship. But now that Star Wars is owned by Disney, for better or for worse, not to go on a Star Wars spiel, they've expanded their presence greatly into other markets, including the video game space, which LucasArts did as well, and the comic book space with, exorbitantly, substantiated comic book lines. Across the board, there's publications flying right and left of that franchise at this point. And the graphic novel space, again, I truly believe has served well in certain capacities. I followed some of the comics in that continuity. That for Dune, it might be fun to read the story in another form as well, and to get a different type of narrative style. Which, again, as I've spoken before, when it comes to cinema adaptations from text, they're varied. You have to make certain accommodations to best fit the story into a certain runtime, with certain studio mandates, budgets, the dramatization process, different narratives of storytelling. There are traits that are different amongst the two that do tend to separate each work as a distinct form. Although from what I heard from people who have read the book, Dune was extremely faithful. So again, like I said, in terms of building a respectable franchise, Dune has laid a foundation that seems pretty successful. At this point, again, it's expanding greatly. And now we have a graphic novel story releasing, which, again, like I said, is pretty typical for franchise launchers. But even amid, other franchises, you have, novelizations, whether they be junior or adult skewed. It makes sense to have story adaptations in different forms for engaging readers of all tastes. So perhaps maybe for somebody who hasn't seen Dune yet, which I would highly recommend it, this will maybe convince you to watch the movie if you're a graphic novel fan. You're like, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'll check this out. I don't know. Like I said before, from what I saw, this looked good, but I would think, again, you'd release it adjacent to, or a more approximated date when the movie came out. But let's take a look at this. Maybe there's something else I'm missing here. I just thought it was kind of strange that we're advertising this, nearly a year after. Yeah. There we go.
My planet Arrakis is so beautiful when the sun is low.
That really was such a beautiful story. And very engaging as well for somebody who, is coming at this from a first perspective. Okay, so why are we advertising this late? It's a good adaptation of the images in the movie. Everything looks comparable.
Let's fight like demons.
It's not safe for you here.
Again, I just thought it would be closer to. Spacing it a year out is a bit odd. Well, they didn't put down. Maybe they're just advertising this again, and I'm just not informed. I find it strange. Maybe they can't get anybody to read the graphic novel, and so we're gonna put this second commercial out to get people talking. Like, have you heard about the graphic novel yet? I don't know. I mean, I will say as well, when it comes to graphic novels involved with larger franchises, they don't tend to get commercials. So Dune is in a rather unique space. I mean, like I said, I gave the comparison example with Star Wars, and I don't think any of their graphic novels have gotten YouTube adverts. Maybe no, not even the High Republic has. I mean, generally, maybe no like specific issue. I mean, of course, you'll see like ads somewhere, but I've never seen like a massive trailer video for a graphic novel. Maybe actually a couple years ago. Come to think of it, I mean, didn't Godzilla King of the Monsters have that with the Aftershock comic? I think there's been on occasion there's been graphic novel projects. It's just not from like Star Wars. Again, that was a bit different. And these franchises are actually kind of similar, at least in certain elements, but having thought about the movie. But it's a great adaptation. So if you haven't read it yet, and it may already be out, I don't know. Again, I thought it was. I just find it weird again, we're advertising this so late, but who knows? I mean, maybe if you're more familiarized with the release structure to this graphic novel, I'd love to hear your feedback down below. You can inform me, and maybe I'm somebody that just hasn't gotten wind of this. But again, I would have assumed because of how long ago that first ad came out that was the initial release date. If it's already released, let's say it released back then, it's weird to space it out this far with another advert. It's interesting though. Maybe we'll get some people talking and some readers engaged as well that haven't read the piece. I haven't yet. I'll definitely try. Again, I loved the Dune movie, so to see it told in another form in the visual space, especially when it comes to graphic novels, which are doing very well generally in terms of bringing in extra financial assets to studios, I would say, from what I've heard anyway. This looks like a good adaptation of the movie told in a different space. Looks actually really fitting. Again, the visuals are translated specifically from the screen into an illustrated comic book form, or comic book / graphic novel, but it looks good. Maybe again I'm just really late to the party on this and I didn't know it already released, but you're out if it hasn't. That's quite an exorbitant amount of time, and maybe you definitely in that case would need the advert to get people reinformed of, oh yeah, this is a thing that we're developing. So again, like I said, for some of you might be able to better clarify my situation down below, and maybe you just weren't informed enough on this, but either way, it looks pretty competent in terms of a read, and it's nice to see the Dune universe continue to expand, given again the foundation was laid so well with the Warner Bros. Movie as of the last year. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.